Hello, everyone.
Всем добрый день.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having us.
Спасибо большое
It's
за
a
то,
great
что
honor to
нас
be here.
пригласили. Для нас большая честь
Today,
быть здесь.
my talk will be divided in
Сегодня
two
моя
parts.
лекция
So
будет
the first
разделена на
part
две
will be
части. В
about
первой
Space
части я
10,
буду
what is
говорить
it,
о
what we
Space
do,
10,
how do
чем
we
мы
work,
занимаемся,
and what
как
kind
мы
of work do we
работаем,
actually do.
вообще
And
какую
then in the
работу мы
second part,
делаем.
I go
А
a
во
little
второй
bit more in
части
theory and
лекции
explain
я
actually
перейду
what
больше к теории
augmented
и
intelligence
расскажу о
is
том,
and
что
what we mean by
такое
it, and
дополненный
speculate
интеллект и что
what
мы имеем в
life
виду под этим
in the
термином.
mirror world could be when augmented reality will be ubiquitous at some point. We're 150 slides away from an open bar, so let's start. So Space 10 is a research and design lab on a mission to create more sustainable ways of living. And we are proudly supported by IKEA, the gentle furniture giant from Sweden. And we help IKEA in finding new ways to fulfill their mission of creating a better everyday life for the many people. And instead of making incremental changes to the IKEA business, we really look and aim to find solutions to the world's biggest challenges and try to find solutions for that. So this is our office. We're based in the heart of Copenhagen in the meatpacking district. This is Kevin. He's also sitting there. This is our test kitchen where we explore and experiment with new types of recipes, which we sometimes serve during lunch. But since a few months, we also serve them downstairs at our cafe. And downstairs in our basement, we have a proper workshop with like a CNC machine, 3D printers, all that. And we also recently opened up a gallery where we exhibited our own projects, but also work of others. We do design lectures and other public events for the community. Once in a while, we do the symposium. We did a lot of pop-ups. So like this one is in New York. This one was during the London Design Week. And this one was in Shanghai around autonomous vehicles. And basically, we operate according to this research, design, and culture framework. And in research, we ask and explore what a better life means. And try to explore, analyze, and identify these opportunities. And then in design, we sort of try to answer these questions and try to build solutions that could one day turn into sustainable, scalable businesses. And through Space 10 culture, we sort of like promote the work and vision we do and have, and sort of engage the broader community in all of this. And we have this saying at Space 10, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And this quote very much informs how we actually work. So we have a fairly small core group of 30 people. And then we work a lot with residents, which I will explain later more about. And then we work a lot with external collaborators for like specialized projects. So we work a lot with architects, engineers, design studios. And right now we have around 150 to 200 external collaborators working across different projects. And basically our model enables us to be extremely flexible and adaptive. So that's also why we say we're not built to last but to evolve. And it has proven to work because we are a completely different organization than we actually were 3 years ago. And it seems to be working so far because we have been named by Fast Company as one of the most innovative companies in the world, actually. So let's dive a little bit more into our research arm. So in research, we explore, analyze, and identify opportunities for better and more sustainable ways of living. And we do this according these 5 macro trends. And we try to see patterns within these and try to identify opportunities. And the way we capture our research is through a number of different tools and ways. One of them being publications. So this is a magazine around shared living we did a few months back. We do extensive digital reports on various topics. So we did one on autonomous vehicles, food in Chinese megacities, around solar energy. And we also have a residency program where we sort of like invite the brightest to work on their own projects with support from our core team, but also really to challenge the Space 10 beliefs and convictions, actually. And right now we have 2 residents over from Harvard and MIT, and I'm super happy to announce that Strelka will also be joining us as of soon. Yeah. That felt like a one more thing moment here. But another thing we have is something we call playful research. And it's basically a method of exploration that engages both the left and the right brain, both the rational and the emotional. And it's basically combining hard, cold facts and statistics and translates that into highly visual storytelling. So here's an example of that, which we call the grow room. And basically the grow room is an urban farm pavilion, an example of food-producing architecture. And it was basically designed to trigger conversations about how to meet the rising demand for food by growing it in our cities. And how we can grow more locally and thus reducing food miles. And when we released the project, a lot of people were actually interested in and asked if they could exhibit the project. But sort of like that sort of like goes against the purpose to ship this thing all over the world. So Simon, our communication director, came up with the clever idea to actually open source the design, so people could download it and print it at their local CNC shop, and then assemble it according to the manual in true IKEA spirit. And we're super happy to see that actually a lot of people did so, and sort of like one of the highlights perhaps being one being built in a refugee camp in Syria. Space on Wheels is another playful research project we did, completely different. And it's a project we did in collaboration with Foam Studio, a 3D studio based in Berlin, and with Digital Studio Norgram. And basically it explores a driverless future when vehicles will hit level 5 autonomy, which would basically allow them to drive themselves. And the way we started with this project is, as you might start many projects, just by Googling it. So we Googled, what does the car of the future actually look like? And we came across like all these very masculine, sterile, chrome, basically male fantasies of future cars. And we actually think this is quite of a boring future. You know, like we have self-driving cars, the car of the future, and all you can do is that. So we were really inspired by this quote by Monica Byrne, where she sort of like imagines the future to be soft, human, and even erotic. So with that, we started sort of like sketching out the project, and basically what we did is looked at the most common activities in urban environments, and based on that we proposed 8 different autonomous vehicles. This is Cafe on Wheels, the Farm on Wheels, and basically that allows people to, almost like an Uber for food, but then sort of like produced on the car. It's like almost like sort of like an autonomous architecture in a way. Cafe on Wheels, Hotel on Wheels, and basically even like an IKEA on wheels. And basically we thought it would be quite nice if people could experience this, even if it would be like a long time in the future. So that's why that's when we sort of actually decided to create like an Uber-like experience, like a speculative app which you can actually download today, and basically enable people to sort of like order one of these cars and have them drive towards you, and basically allowing you to explore it from all different angles using augmented reality. And here's a little film showing that. Thank you. I love that we actually trademarked something which is not even possible in 10 years from now. The third Playful Research project I would like to share with you is called Solarville, and around 1.1 billion today people around the world today still have little or no access to electricity. And it's almost like an impossible and expensive task to reach all these people through sort of like the centralized energy networks we have today. So instead, Solarville proposes to leapfrog these centralized grids using blockchain technology, and while doing so, empowering local communities. So basically, what we created is a working prototype of a miniature neighborhood completely powered by solar energy, and each of the individual homes are allowed to trade energy with one another using blockchain energy. So like the third party power company is completely removed. So like all the power is in the hands of the people. And basically what you see here is the Arduino, sort of like making the blockchain happen. So each of these homes is connected to such Arduino device. And we made this actually in collaboration with Block and Sax Noordveit, a Danish architecture studio. And then a more recent project we did is called Future Food Today. And we're actually quite proud about it because we've been working on this for like 2.5 years, I would say. And it's in collaboration with our friends Barkas, published by Frame. And basically, it's a cookbook exploring delicious and sustainable recipes from our test kitchen that help us eat better for ourselves and the planet. And it basically explores all these different recipes, like, for instance, the Holy Mole fish taco made from aquaponic fish, the bug burger, and the Douglas hot dog. So, as I explained, in research we ask questions, and in design we actually try to find answers to these questions. So Space 10 ideates, validates, pilots solutions for better and more sustainable ways of living. And the thing with a lot of design practices today is that it's very focused around people. You know, like people are always at the center of design projects. But we believe it's pretty clear that human-centered design is not going according to plan. And we need to look beyond sort of like only the human aspirations and needs, and actually not actually only ask how might we, but also ask at what cost when we are starting a new project. So we sort of try to have a more holistic approach towards design at Space 10, including both people and planet. And I'm now going to show you some projects we've done recently. This is local, and basically local started with hydroponic farms downstairs in our basement. We're growing food for the office and making delicious salads out of this. And then someone came up with the idea, hey, can't we use this sort of like same design and technology and apply it in a way so more people can benefit from that. So that's actually when this idea around local came about. And local is sort of like a salad bar which is located in the heart of the city. This was during the pop-up during the London Design Week. And basically all the salads are grown on the spot. So it's as fresh as it gets, basically. And shortly after we did this project and released it, IKEA invested actually in arrow farms, and we like to believe, which is the world's largest arrow farm, hydroponic farm producer. And we like to believe that, yeah, we were sort of had a little influence in that. And actually, IKEA also announced that it will be introducing local farming markets, hydroponics, at IKEA stores worldwide. And this is the most recent design project we actually did, called the Urban Village Project. And it's a collaboration with the Danish architecture firm Effect and IKEA themselves. It was released like 2 weeks ago. It's like 2 years of research that went into it, and I sort of like compressed it into like a few slides, so bear with me. So basically, the Urban Village Project proposes a fully integrated solution for housing, including livability, sustainability, and affordability, all under one single roof. And one of the key components of the Urban Village Project is community. It's really at the heart of the vision for this project we have. It envisions a cross-generational, diverse, shared living community in the heart of the city, and not only connects you to the neighbors, but also connects you with the neighborhoods, where it's local businesses or surrounding communities. And sustainability is really an integrated sort of like aspect of the design in this project. So the actual building is based on a standard modular system using sort of like sustainable grown cross-laminated timber. And the actual building is designed for disassembly. So like you can reuse all the materials again. So like it will be close collaboration with different partners. And don't worry, you don't need to put the house together yourself, like in traditional IKEA products you have to do, but it will be delivered as a whole. And the nice thing about sort of like this vision is that sort of whenever your life situation changes, like when you sort of like get like a family extension, your apartment changes with you over time. So you can stay within the same community that you've built your life within, and there's no need for you to move actually. And then there's also like this aspect around affordability, because in a lot of cities it's quite unaffordable to live these days. So the idea is that you actually can subscribe to your home. There's a monthly rate for rent, electricity, maintenance, and shared facilities. Secondly, we would introduce affordable and add-on subscriptions like food, media, transport, and sports. And by achieving lower monthly rents and reducing living costs by these previous 2 points, we will allow people to actually buy shares in the property. So like they actually can become homeowners of the property. And it's not just a building, it's really like a scalable system, how we envision it. So it could just be an infill somewhere in Europe. It could be like a skyscraper in more dense cities like Beijing or Shanghai. Or it could be like smaller villages in emerging economies such as Colombia. And then I would also like to discuss IKEA Place, which is a project we launched around like 2 years ago. And basically, research shows that actually a lot of people are quite unsure about decorating their home. Like there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and people are quite insecure about dealing with these. And there's like such a thing as an imagination gap. So people have hard time picturing what furniture would look like. So basically, together with IKEA, we developed a service called IKEA Place that empowers people and making them more confident about decorating their home. And this is a little preview of that service.
Hey! IKEA would like everyone to know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new AR kit, you can easily place true-to-scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere to imagine a better place. Share this place and this place. Try Place in your place.
Yes. And this sort of leads us into this project is actually sort of like part of a bigger case we call Augmented Intelligence. And so like Augmented Intelligence explores what will happen when almost everyone and everything on the planet is connected, and what it will mean when AI can sense and learn from the world around us. It also investigates how we can use design to create better experiences around data to improve our everyday lives. And currently more than 4.4 people around the world use the internet. And 50% of the world population owns an actual smartphone. So technology is changing people's everyday life, and sometimes that's not for the better. It's funny sort of like to see how sort of like our reality is being reduced to a 5-inch display, and actually what that does to people. So the question is like, how do we actually end up here? So we started with this a long time ago. This was the reality when you want to interact with technology. So you need to manually code commands and syntaxes into this machine in order to operate it. And then Apple invented the user interface, which suddenly reflected the world we live in a lot more. And computers started to finally speak our language a bit more. It would be sort of like, because of the graphical user interface, technology would democratize more. And that eventually evolved into the multi-touch display, which is even more intuitive and even allows elderly and grandmas to use the technology. And you can plot these developments on the so-called F-curve. So every technology sort of like starts as this crazy idea in labs and suddenly evolves. And then you're not really sure how the technology at that point will sort of like influence our lives. So like when the iPhone introduced, there was no Uber, there was no Tinder. It was very difficult to predict that these things would come to existence 10 years later. But then sort of like technology scales, and suddenly there's a lot of innovation happening because more and more people are joining the platform. And at some point, the innovation saturates and matures, and innovation stagnates. So there's no much more, one more type of thing innovations happening. So what will come next? Well, we believe there's not one platform or one thing that will come next, but a combination of different things. It won't be bound into a single box. And we believe it will be something we call augmented intelligence. So augmented intelligence is basically technology that enhances and complements everyday behavior. So like the idea is that you don't need to actually learn the technology in order to operate it. And sort of like a few examples of these are like technology you can just easily speak to, like smart speakers, or that sort of like adapts and reacts to our gestures. Or self-driving cars. You can just step into a car and you don't actually need to learn how to drive that car. And actually also augmented reality that sort of like enhances the reality around us. And actually today I would like to talk a little bit more about augmented reality. And a lot of people believe it's going to be a big thing like Apple. And so what is it actually? So augmented reality enhances the world around you, while virtual reality lets you escape to another world. With AR, you don't look at the screen, you look through it. So basically, we believe it can have a way bigger impact than virtual reality because you still are able to interact with the world surrounding you. And perhaps the most famous examples of AR are Snapchat filters, which we all know, or most of us all know. And this is another example of a pretty advanced version of Pokemon Go, where Pokemons are suddenly aware of their surroundings. This is AR in combination with motion detection by Magic Leap's North Star. So this is sort of like a speculative version of the future office. You can also do fun stuff like this, sort of like add things to already existing objects and places in the real world. But you can also actually use it to diminish things from your surroundings, to really literally hide things real time. So the thing is, right now we have to experience AR through our phones, which creates a lot of friction because you actually need to stare at your screen to experience something. But we believe that in the near future, the phone will be distributed into a constellation of smaller devices. And we already see it happening with like the smartwatch, the earbuds, and soon also with smart glasses or augmented reality glasses, if you like. And if you just have a look at these patents by companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, and Samsung, it's quite obvious that even these big tech companies are quite interested in this. And they actually also already sort of like patented AR lenses, which is even more of a frictionless experience. And the reason why they're so interested, it's because basically it's a huge business opportunity. Forbes speculates that it will be a $20 billion market by 2022. But there's a big problem with the smart glasses. They kind of make you look silly. And if we have something to learn from Google smart glasses, is that nobody actually wants to be a glasshole, right? And sort of like suddenly tech companies start to acknowledge this, and sort of like they learned a lot from sort of like this edge case from Google. And Apple hired the famous eyewear designer Mark Newson sort of to work on these type of more fashionable glasses. And it's interesting to see because before Apple started working on smartwatches, it was really like a bulky computer on your wrist. You know, like it was not like something that would complement your everyday outfit. And suddenly, with this sort of like more design approach towards this technology, it suddenly becomes fashionable. So like brands like Hermes and Louis Vuitton are suddenly associated with a bulky wrist computer. And it's interesting to see that finally tech companies are starting to understand fashion. And you see that also happening in sort of like the smart glasses spectrum. So these are designed by Snapchat, look pretty fashionable. These are focals funded by Amazon startup. This is a collaboration between the Korean brand Gentle Monster and Huawei. And this is a speculative Givenchy goggle, also pretty out there. And as these AR glasses are becoming part of our everyday uniform, we're about to enter a new reality, which is basically a hyper reality where physical and virtual realities have merged, and the built environment has become like a saturated media. And we referred to this space as the mirror world, which was originally a term coined by Yale scientist David Gettler. And in the mirror world, each space will be a highly personal experience tailored to your individual needs. And each space can be experienced in an infinite amount of ways. And it will have actually a big impact on the way we live our lives, but also like the way we design our environments. And it's interesting thought experiment to think that suddenly architects will no longer be the primary drivers of our built environment, but tech companies will much own this new physical digital reality. And also, the platform we choose to enter the mirror world in will change our collective reality altogether. And it will have a lot of obvious and not so obvious political consequences, actually. So suddenly, a dark alley in Hong Kong will be transformed into a private stage of a Russian ballet dancer, similar like in the film Blade Runner. Or a park in London suddenly becomes like the latest music video from Aphex Twin. And your living room is the set for the latest Star Wars franchise. So like the mirror world will have profound implications of the way we experience reality. And every object and place in the mirror world will have sort of like a digital counterpart. So like carefully stitched together from the collective data collected by our smart glasses. And through metadata and tags, every object and place will suddenly be queryable. And this will allow us to search the mirror world just like we search the web today. And at some point, the science of cartography will become so exact that the map will be the same size as the territory, which was funnily already predicted in 1658 in a short story on Executives of Science. And perhaps at some point, we might perhaps not even bother to distinct the mirror world from the real world anymore. And suddenly, augmented reality just becomes the new reality. Thank you.